So Mercury through synastry is, maybe one of the easiest planets to deal with through synastry. That is, it's not as disruptive. The connection with Mercury is one that can ease communication for sure. And when you have Mercury interacting with the other person's, Mercury or other planets, it definitely is, eases, it can definitely ease the tension. Mercury is really important in a relationship because obviously it's our ability to communicate, but communication is the result of flexibility, curiosity, intelligence, the willingness to listen to another person as well as speak our own mind. And these things go a long way in relationships. Relationship has to have a quality of Mercury involved, and we need to be able to listen to the other person and accommodate what they say and be curious enough to listen and to adjust and to explore something new together or whatever. When a Mercury component is lacking, there's not a lot of objectivity. And let's face it, relationships bring a lot of attachment and things that aren't so objective quite a bit. And so the capacity to be objective and to be playful and curious and not just, locked into our rigid way of seeing things, especially because it's usually based on, or it can be based on insecurity and fear and stress and being triggered or other kinds of things, especially when it gets difficult. It's very helpful to have a place where you trust that the other person will listen to you, that the other person can talk to you, where they can be non-judgmental. These are all Mercury virtues. That's what good communication is. Good communication is the ability to see beyond your own need to be right and your own morals and principles and judgments. Mercury is not judgmental. It's a blessing and a curse, of course, because we need judgment in order to have a sense of purpose and righteousness, but it's good to not be judgmental of people. It's good to be judgmental of concepts. Write that one down. Mercury and Venus are the ones that deal with people. Jupiter, Mars, they're the ones that are about principles and defending principles and a sense of righteousness. And Jupiter and Mars can be difficult energies in relationships because we tend to judge people. One of our biggest problems is our judgments and then getting angry because people didn't do what we judge to be right or wrong. It's not good. Mercury exists in between Mars and Jupiter. Mercury is trying to bridge that process. And it's one of the most difficult things in relationships. I mean, one of the biggest things in relationships is arguing and getting irritated and angry with the other person, which is Mars, and it's fueled by judgment, which is Jupiter, often. Well, you should be this way, and it should be this way, and my vision is this, and I believe this, Jupiter. So I'm gonna get angry because you're not doing that, Mars. So Mercury is actually really trying to exist in between those two energies. It can be very important. It can be a very important connection in a relationship. So, and again, realize, synastry is the button that's getting pushed. So when Mercury is like in the other person, one person's Mercury is in the other person's ascendant, that's very good. They'll feel a certain lightness and playfulness there. If it's on the other person's moon, again, it can help the moon person maybe interpret their feelings or, curious about the other person's feelings. That one's less good for the Mercury person because Mercury wants to understand things and the moon is not very clear, so the Mercury person could get confused trying to track the emotions of the other person, which could be all over the place. But again, because Mercury is a helpful, gentle energy, you want to understand something about Mercury if you're an astrology student, and this idea that Mercury is neutral. It can be cruel if it's with a cruel planet. This is a rule and a principle, but it's basically underscoring the flexibility of Mercury. Mercury is not cruel. Like Mars, Saturn, Sun have a cruel energy about effort, sacrifice. Mercury is adaptable. This is why if it's with a cruel planet, it can act to help the cruel energy. But Mercury is a gentle planet, okay? Somya Graha, okay? So it's never cruel of its own nature. It can just help something that has a cruel agenda. And it can, because it's helpful. Okay, it's helpful. It's like, you know, something difficult is happening in Mercury's there. He's just going to try to help what's going on, okay? So you want to understand that about Mercury as a neutral planet and what that rule means. So, you know, Mercury's always going to try to be helpful. So Mercury-Mars, Mercury will try to be helpful with the Mars. But again, it's not so good for Mercury, okay, to be joined another person's Mars in Synastry. I already talked about it because I talked about Mars, but that is not going to be so helpful for the Mars person. I'm sorry, for the Mercury person. Mars is going to try to back them into a corner and say, what is it, right or wrong, yes or no? Mars will get frustrated with the Mercury. Mercury will get kind of frustrated with the Mars, trying to box them into, you know, a black or white position. So Mercury, Jupiter, and again, as a principle, when the planets are joined each other, like Mercury, Mercury, or Sun, Sun, Moon, Moon, it's going to show it'll show a coming together. That'll be a good connection. If I didn't make that clear yet in these videos, same way with the same ascendant, the same Sun, the same Moon, the same Mars, the same Mercury, will tend to strengthen that thing. Again, it's that Mars is going to strengthen something that's intense. So Mars, like I said in the previous video, Mars connections are hard. So if it's Mars, it's also difficult. It's going to magnify. It's difficult, but they'll at least understand the same energy, but it's going to amplify Mars. So Mercury can definitely bring about a lot of ease. It'll be a similar kind of communication style. You can just hear Mars will be a similar kind of fighting style. It's like, ugh, how much do you want that, right? So Mars, Jupiter, you know, through synastry, it can definitely be, it can definitely open up possibilities for both. They're opposite each other. Mercury is intellectual, Jupiter's philosophical. So there's a difference. There can be a difference of opinion about things. The Jupiter person may feel like the Mercury's always, you know, shooting holes in their theories, for lack of a simpler way to put it. Mercury's not really religious. Jupiter is. Jupiter's about belief. Mercury's about if the facts make sense, if the data makes sense. You know, and so the Mercury person might feel like the Jupiter person and their big philosophies are kind of silly and don't make a lot of sense. So this could be an issue. You know, again, depending on the relative, you know, strength of them, it doesn't mean, you know, this isn't a deal breaker. It's not I wouldn't look at that and go, oh, this is hard. Your Mercury is on his Jupiter. In general, it shows a sort of conversation that could be happening, and it could be uncomfortable if it's one person's ruling planet or another. All other things are at play. You know, the houses they're in, other things, if it's the seventh lord of one or whatever. And again, this could be very much the case because Mercury and Jupiter are opposite each other. So if you get a Mercury-Jupiter conjunction and the ascendants are any of those, you know, if it's Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces, then it's going to be the first and the seventh house lord joined. So in this case, you want to notice, and that's 4 ascendants, that's 1/3 of the whole chart. So in those cases, it becomes significant. And that conflict can be a matter of identity, and it could be quite significant at that point. Of course, that's a principle you want to look at anyway, but it only happens with Mercury and Jupiter where 4 ascendants are going to be implicated. Or actually, no, that's not true, sorry. It would happen with any opposition, actually. Mars, Venus, and also the Sun, Moon, and Saturn. So with those oppositions, you will see it. But that issue between philosophy and being literal will be underscored with Mercury-Jupiter. Then Mercury-Venus, this is a friendly conjunction for sure through synastry. Mercury and Venus are also friendly with each other. It can show a lot of ease, communication, a lot of empathy and connection with each other, regardless of which direction it flows. man Mercury, man Venus, doesn't really matter. It's still a good connection for the most part. It's nice, there could be a lot of ease. Mercury, Saturn also. Mercury really helps Saturn, and Saturn helps Mercury as well, because Saturn makes Mercury, get serious and pay attention to things that are important, and Mercury lightens up Saturn. So when you see a Mercury conjunction on another person's Saturn, that serious part of their nature may be lightened up a little bit, right? And then the Mercury person will be forced to perhaps get a little more serious about things that they are a little too playful with, for example. So that kind of synastry you can see to be quite important. So with Saturn and Mercury, you can see how this complementary nature, these two planets are quite friendly with each other, and this is the reason. Mercury, Rahu, Rahu connections always create some confusion, but Mercury is really, in my opinion, the best planet to be associated with Rahu, especially, because it brings intelligence to Rahu, and Rahu is trying to figure things out intellectually first, and Mercury is the planet of intelligence. So the Rahu person could find some ease in that. The Mercury person, not so much. And again, Rahu connections are always confusing, but Mercury is definitely the planet that's able to untangle the confusion. That's why Mercury is so good for Rahu, Mercury influence on Rahu, because Mercury is flexible and neutral and doesn't have a lot of preconceptions, and Rahu is very random, and you need a kind of a sort of discrimination where Rahu is concerned. Mercury Ketu, much less. Mercury Ketu, Ketu interrupts Mercury because Ketu is so rigid and so focused and one-dimensional. It's kind of like that Mars rigidity. But we come in with Ketu, and there's like this certainty and this it should be this way. It's a kind of black and white fixed kind of criticism that Mercury, it doesn't do well with Mercury. So that's particularly difficult for the Mercury person. The Ketu person also doesn't really benefit very much, because Ketu person is not hearing Mercury's explanations, because it's this way, not that way with Ketu. Whereas with Rahu, anything's possible, so the explanation is helpful. Ketu Mercury, not so helpful on either one. So you like to see Ketu more with Jupiter. Jupiter is matched with Ketu quite well, and Rahu is matched well with Mercury. So that's Mercury in synastry.